Okay. So how many of you are ready to hand in your shingle and say, I don't want to do real estate anymore?
No.
Good answer. Good answer. Okay. One thing about real estate that we know, it is always changing, right? So I thought it was important that we sort of catch up a little bit here because change in real estate is always happening. It's normal. Obviously, we've had a change in the marketplace because of outside influences, but those outside influences always happen. Okay. So what I wanted to do is get together and just say, let's just talk about it. Let's understand what's going on. And I'm going to show you some graphs on why the sky is not falling. Okay. Just remember that outside influences affect real estate. And recently we've had some outside influences such as interest rates. Big talk about, how high are the interest rates going to go? How is that going to affect the marketplace? And obviously, unfortunately, with the war in Ukraine, it's how is that going to affect the world? Is it going to engage the world? Is it going to cause anything such as gas prices, food prices, increase, inflation? All those uncertainties do one thing in a marketplace. They get people that are on the edge of saying, am I going to do something? Am I not going to do something? They always tend to go, I'm not going to do anything until I see what happens. Okay. How many of you right now have already had clients say, I'm going to wait and see, just to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 months? Okay. Very normal. So what that means is you have to have some ammunition to explain to them that this is very normal. And here's how I can help you through it. And here's how you could take advantage of it. And the reason is that every time there's an influence in the marketplace, there is always an opportunity there somewhere. Okay. And I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to show it to you. So keep in mind that these factors that are outside our control always affect us. We can go back to, I can go back as far as the 80s, but I guess recently, let's say in the last, since 2000, we unfortunately had 9/11, which caused a complete ripple in worldwide marketplaces. And it was a matter of time before people started feeling secure, feeling comfortable that the market started to soar. 2008, we had the bank crisis in the States, right? How did that affect us in Canada? Because our banking rules are different. But in Canada, we went from when it happened in September 2008 until May, where we just had a very flat, steady market. People weren't sure what to do, but then May came along and everybody went, sky hasn't fallen in, better start buying, and it hasn't stopped since. And then we had the tax on foreign buyers. And it was, how is that going to affect us? Is that going to stall the market? Is that going to cause a major downturn? And as we know, we had a period of time, it was probably about 45 days, where it was like, we take all those investor buyers, foreign buyers out of the marketplace, we're going to have a crash. Did it happen? No. So with what's going on with these influences that we're seeing most recently, do you feel this is going to cause a crash? Any of you? Nope. Thoughts? Open discussion as we're going along. Somebody's got to have an opinion. I can't be the only one going,
Well, anybody, the one guy in particular that I spoke to, who is an investor, he's got many properties. He thinks everything is just going to completely crash and the whole real estate market's going to tank, which is why he's waiting.
Okay. Any other comments from any other? Yep, Julia.
I've heard people say the same thing.
and they're mostly investors. And don't you notice a lot of, I'm noticing a lot of corporations selling, corporations that are owning condos and homes. I'm seeing a lot of that.
Okay.
And landlords. But with what's going on in the city, I'm not seeing things sit on the market. So I'm not sure this is much of a stall. It's just there's no inventory. Maybe they're stalling, putting places on because they want to watch.
Investors, yes. Investors is a different scenario because investors will look at where can they move their money, right? And as we talked about at the beginning of this year, we talked about what do we foresee moving forward. One of the biggest opportunities we talked about was what's going to happen in Alberta. Well, I can tell you right now, with the way the oil prices are, they are ramping up the oil fields again. So I know people out there. I've got a buddy of mine that he services a lot of the buildings there. And they are, and actually I'm just talking to James Kavanaugh, who was out skiing in Alberta. And all the talk was about how the oil prices now, all the companies are starting to ramp up. So what does that do for the economy in Alberta? It's going to push it. So investors have already started trying to move their money. So the investor market, I know some investors that sold in late 2017 because they thought the crash was coming. So, but absolutely, those conversations about we're gonna sell, we're gonna take our money out, we expect to have a pullback. I do not see a crash, by the way, and I'll explain to you why. Any other comments on what you're hearing and seeing out there? Okay. Well, let's talk about then why I don't think, and I don't see this happening. First of all, there is a very short supply, right? Real estate is supply and demand. Supply and demand will drive it all the time. Okay. So what we have to look at that's what we're going to look at history-wise, just even over the last 3 years or so, what has happened with supply and demand and where do we see it going? Second all is immigration is not going to stop. Unfortunately, with world events that have taken place, immigration to Canada is going to become stronger. So you have low supply, you have strong immigration, you have a strong economy. You try hiring somebody today. Like there are companies out there that are looking to hire people and cannot find them. There is opportunity for jobs in Ontario. There's opportunity for jobs across Canada. That is not going to change. I understand the fear of the inflation. I understand the fear of, what is going to take place? How much is it going to cost me more per month for gas, for food, things like that? Those are factors that will be a short-term blow and will take some people out of the marketplace. My opinion, I've seen it before. Those same people are going to try and come back into the marketplace and will come back. So a couple things then are looking at immigration, job security, income. There are really high-paying jobs that, the amount of to hire somebody today, the dollar figure just on an hourly wage has gone up because the companies need to do that to be able to attract them to work. Okay. So if we look at all those factors, what causes a crash? Real high increase in interest rates. So all of a sudden the buying power of the public disappears. I don't see that happening. Half a point here or there, even if it went up a point, it's going to take some people out of the marketplace, but it's not going to take everybody out. Okay. Yeah, Abdullah.
Yes, Scott, so why is it there's a lot of listings, especially in Durham region, that a lot of listing got terminated within like 7 days, for the past 7 days, and there is currently no one accepting any offers. They're just accepting preemptive. So why is it that happening?
Why are we seeing that happen?
Yeah, why is it like a lot of people are terminating the listings now?
So here's what happens when you terminate a listing is you terminate a listing because you're not getting the momentum of showings that you were anticipating. Okay. Or you did a marketing plan where it was, I'm going to ask this price, and if we don't obtain this value in multiple offer situation, then we're going to cancel the listing and bring it out at a different price. And the reason you do that is, one, every time you put out a new listing, everybody that's on a listing automation gets a ping saying, hey, new listing came up. So it regenerates some enthusiasm.
Right.
Two, the way that the listings all show up now is it shows if the last price. So if you don't cancel the listing, then it shows, okay, you were down at 700, now you're back, you're up to 850. Why? Okay, so there's some of those factors, but it really is, it's determined that if you relist it, there will be people out there that get notified about the new listing that would not look at it because it's 7 days old.
Right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So that's just a ploy to try and get the activity going.
Right. It doesn't have anything to do with crash or anything like that, right?
No, nothing to do with the crash. It's more of a marketing ploy.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, Julia.
It's interesting. I was talking to the agent that we offered on last night, and we saw the house yesterday, and and she was there. So I talked to her and I said, what's your expectation of tomorrow? Are we going to have a bloodbath, or are we going to, and she said, honestly, I really don't know. And then when I talked to her today, and she said that of the 12 offers, half of them never saw the property. So she was initially worried she wouldn't get a lot of offers because she didn't have a lot of appointments, but then all of these mystery offers came in from people that never saw the appointment. They're builders. And so she was very surprised that she got the number and the number of offers that she got. So it could be too that people are there's low numbers going through these properties, and then the buyers or the sellers think, oh, we're not going to get multiple offers and we don't want egg on our face. And I do see a lot of cancellations after a multiple offer night. They don't get the number they want, and then the next day it gets relisted and then you see it sold right away. That seems to be a trend.
Yeah.
But I don't know Durham region, but I see that a lot in the city.
So I can actually answer good points, because here's one of the things that happens when we've seen this before in the marketplace is buyers will get to a point, especially if there's some uncertainty, where they'll go, I know the listing price isn't where it's going to sell, but I really don't want to compete with a bunch of other people. So if you don't get the price you're looking for, if it doesn't sell, let me know. My clients understand that they'll pay more, they'll pay market value for it, but they just don't want to be in competition with a whole bunch of other people. So all of a sudden you cancel the listing. Next day you may put it back up at a higher price, and it sells because one of the parties that was involved in the multiple offer, didn't want to go in the multiple offer, says, here's what I'm willing to pay for it. And it sells for much higher. Okay. One of the things that, and that's why sometimes, I'm getting agents calling me and going, well, we don't want to be involved in multiple offers, but we're willing to pay this amount. Okay, well, put it on paper. No, not going to do that. We don't want to be, we'll wait till after. If it sells, and we'll look for something else. So after it's back on the market, it's like, okay, we're going to submit our offer. because all the other ones that had the opportunity to go in don't. Very few will go back in. And so that's why you're seeing some of these listings canceled, come out at a new price, and then they end up being where they do end up selling for more than what they were asking. Okay. It's a trend we've seen before when we've had outside influences affect the real estate a little bit. Okay. But the other thing that I'm also talking with different agents is people that are holding off offers, if your price is really close to where the last one sold for, not getting big activity. You have to get the price so low that look at, go on and see, because we are getting more listings coming on. But if you're a detached house in a certain area, go on and see how many are on that list. And you need to position yourself like number 1 or 2, no more than 3 as an asking price. And then what's going to happen is you're going to hold up offers. Don't take any preemptive. I'm going to explain to you why in certain cases. Is now imagine then that you were really, really cheap, but now you're getting these offers. In a multiple offer situation, when there's only 1 or 2 offers, general public mindset goes, ooh, maybe I'm paying too much because there's only 2 people interested in this. You get 9, 10, 11, 12 offers, then all of a sudden the general public goes, this is a hot product. This is a hot property. I know I'm going to have to stretch further. And I can tell you that of that group of offers that comes in, majority are probably going to be not acceptable. All you're trying to do is get the 2 people, 1 or 2 people that really want the property and go, man, there's that many offers. I'm going to pay this much more. So what's happening is you're probably seeing properties that are now just in the last 4 or 5 days, week, selling for way more than the asking price. And that's because the strategy is ask way, way less to get way more offers to create that enthusiasm.
For instance, the one we lost last night, doubled asking price, almost doubled that asking price.
Yeah. So I'm going to share something with you. I did my stats, going to show them Toronto Real Estate Board stats for yesterday. All the GTA, not just, I didn't do all of Ontario, but I did the GTA, right? So you're looking at Hamilton, Halton, those areas. 147 properties were reported through the Toronto Real Estate Board yesterday, sold for. Okay. All types, 147 of them. 29, all price ranges from 393 to 4 million. Okay. 147. 29 of them sold for less than the asking price. Over 80% of yesterday's reported solds were asking or above. And so what's that tell you about the marketplace? And I went through looking at these properties. I looked at the listings to see how long were they on the market? How long did they hold off offers? And what I was looking for is to say, how long have we had the influence of the war in Ukraine? How long have we had the influence with the interest rate increases? What's driving this? Well, 80% of the homes selling are still asking price or above. What's that tell you about the strength of the marketplace? You can chime in now. That's a question.
Not rhetorical.
What does that tell you about the marketplace?
Still strong.
Yep, still strong. Still buyers. Okay. So I found that very interesting. And the other part is too, is that it's in a marketplace where everybody's going like, what's going on? So I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to show you why the marketplace we're in is normal. Okay, and what's going to happen with it. Just gotta find where I put this. Okay. So let me, this, for those of you that have access, can you guys see my screen, first of all?
Yep.
Yep.
So those of you that have access to the, that have access to ITSO, okay, not the Toronto Real Estate Board, but any one of the other 29 boards that is on the matrix system. Okay, you all have access to this. So when you log in, you'll see the little, there's a little chart that they show you, and it shows what's going on on the ITSO. This chart is from January 2019 to the end of February, basically a week ago. What you're looking at is the average sale price that's taken place. What I want to highlight is, look what's happened in 2019. Price goes up, price goes up. We hit April, what happens? Starts coming down a little bit. We go through the summer. All of a sudden, activity starts picking it up again after the summer, and we get up to where November, December, average still hangs in there. Start of 2020, have not hit COVID yet. That is a regular, non-impacted year. Okay. We hit December, okay, go into a new year. What happens? Short of listings, average price goes up. February 2020, before COVID, the price went up very good, right? Then all of a sudden we get into where March was, obviously halfway through March, we had the lockdown, shut down. What happens? No sales, so the average price goes down. We come out of that start in May 20th is when they started opening things up. And everybody was, what's going to happen to the marketplace? Is it going to crash? Well, look what took place. Okay. Then we get to the end of 2020. And now this is average sale price. Okay. Now we're into 2020, which was strong. We go into 2021. Look what happens in January. Look what happens in February. So a year ago, look what happened with the spike. What takes place? We get more listings coming on. We get some buyers saying, hey, it's under my price. The price comes back a little bit. Okay. To the point where actually towards the end of 2021, the pricing actually was lower near the end of the year than when it peaked in the spring. What takes place? We start having a shortage of listings and price starts going up. We hit 2022 and we have no listings, very little, and it spikes. And this is where we are today. Well, if you looked at March, April, May, what do you see happening in the last few years? Even during COVID, what happens? But what takes place after that? Get a little average, get a little dip, comes back up. Yeah, buddy, you got a question? No? Okay, right? So that is the average sale price. So do we anticipate that over the next 3 or 4, 2-3 months, is the average sale price going to come down based on history over the last few years? Yeah, it's going to come back a little bit. But then what takes place? So if I'm an investor, am I going to risk trying to gamble on which month I might miss that? So I would show this to my investors and go, yeah, you're probably right. We do expect a little bit of a pullback. It shows in history all the way through, even before COVID. But what takes place is long-term, your money is really well invested in the GTA. Okay. So now, new listings. let's go back, beginning of January 2019. What happens? There was low number of listings. And we get up. Of course, this is a spike in new listings. We get to the end of May. What happens? Our listing inventory starts coming down. And we get back into September, go towards the end of the year. We know people don't list. Very few people list at the end of the year. 2019, pre-COVID. We go into the beginning, 2020, listing inventory goes up. Got to March, and unfortunately, this particular time, we had the influence of the shutdown. Absolutely, listing inventory goes down. We come out of that, and what do we see? Listing inventory goes up, sales start happening. All of a sudden, we're getting down to where people aren't listing anymore. Okay, we get to December, annual spring market, or listings. Right? So what happens is, again, this is last year, listing inventory, right? We're here now. What happens? Our listing inventory goes down. We get to the start of this year. What are we seeing? Listing inventory going up. What we're seeing in today's market, would everybody agree? It's showing over the last 3 years. This is normal. Nothing weird happening. Could I get at least a wave to say, hey, that makes sense? Okay, all right. Now, so that's new listings. Why has our marketplace increased so much? Okay, why? Well, if we look here, these are the homes for sales. Well, look at the number of homes available over the last year and a bit. So what takes place with that? Absolutely. Now we're just starting, right? We got our listing inventory back. Look at the sales. You look at the sales, what takes place is it follows a pattern. So if we look here, the year 2020, again, we even know with COVID, but look what started taking place. We get to a year ago, just over a year ago, sales started going up, and then number of sales came down because of lack of inventory. We get down here, we know the inventory starts going up in January, so we're seeing the number of sales go up. Days on market. Why do we have back here average days on market? You're looking, 26, 27, January 2019. All of a sudden sales start happening. We get into March. Andre, if I could get you to mute, I believe you may have two devices working at the same time and they're causing a little bit of a conflict. Thank you. So now you look at what takes place, days on market. Yeah, well, all of a sudden it starts dropping because there's no inventory. We start getting listings, and that's March, and unfortunately, and then you start seeing the pattern. But what's been taking place a year and a half now is you just follow this along. And the reason that the other charts showed a big spike in appreciation is no inventory, to the point where the average days on market is like down here, 6. So what's going to change that? Well, either we're going to have to get a huge amount of listings. Don't see that happening. So what does it look like? This is month supply. This is how much is on the marketplace and how many months it's going to take to clear out the market. While you're looking at this chart, I want to let you know a balanced market, okay? Balanced. not a buyer's market, not a seller's market, is usually between 4 and 5 months of inventory. Nice balance. The most we saw in the last 3 years, let's call it 2 and a bit, is 3.3 back in June of 2019. So if everybody remembers the marketplace in June, in the spring of 2019, started bringing in, still had, the investors, tax on, foreign investors was still there. And it was, prices had gone up. So it's like, oh, the market's going to crash. Well, we had nice inventory. What has taken place though, is all the way down to now through, all the way through. And if we take this last year, January, there was 0.6, not even a full 30 days of inventory. Why did we have this big spike that just took place? Well, we were down to 0.3. What's happening now, if we follow along, if we look back here in January, February, March of last year, we started seeing this go up. Anybody remember the market in January, February, March, April, May last spring? Strong market. Well, look, that was under a month's supply. We got into June, we had 1 month's supply. We are only today at the end of February at half a month's supply. Supply and demand. Understand supply and demand, and the fact that, well, if we want to be in a seller's market, we have to be below 4 months of inventory. How many tons of listings do we need to see to be even able to even get all the way up to here? It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Okay. Percentage of asking price, sold price to asking price. Down here for the last 2 years, almost 1, 2, 3 years, look, it was still 99, 98, 99, 100. Well, and then it started spiking. But March last year, it was as high as 109% over asking. More listings came on, more activity. Well, that changed. Well, then we got to here where there was no inventory and it spiked. Where do I start seeing this go? Well, this probably will start, and based on history, starting in March, April, May, will probably start coming down a bit. But is it going to crash? No. So, what'd you
Scott, can I
learn
ask
from
a
that?
question? Can I ask something?
Yeah.
So with those ones that are up like 119% or whatever, how many of those do you think will fail because of, not appraising or?
Oh no, those are sold. They're
Oh,
done.
they're done. They're closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They are now. There may be some that are in there with the recent last graph, but you are in any marketplace over the last few years. We've had issues with not appraising, right? We've had in our discussions over even a year ago, 2 years ago, talking about make sure if you're multiple offers, you let your buyers know if this doesn't appraise, you have to be in a position where you have extra money.
Yeah.
Right? We've had that conversation, and that's still going on now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but to look at where do we see the market going based on the last 3 years of market? Absolutely. We're probably going to see the average price come down a little bit. Average price comes down a little bit because you have more sales, right? The more you have in a bundle, the less the average usually is. Is the marketplace going to crash? No. You heard it here. No.
I have a question.
Yep.
I don't want to bore everybody with my stuff, but in your opinion, everybody that's here, how do you think the fuel prices are going to affect the real estate market where I am, because like it's a 3-hour drive from Toronto. And I think that will have an impact on the market here. Now, do you think that that's going to have some sort of a positive impact or a negative impact? Like people aren't going to come, so they're going to sell their house. Great, good for me. Or like, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts?
How, you're 3 hours away?
Well, it's 2.5 to Muskoka. I'm 3 hours.
Okay. So 3-hour travel time, average, what's that gonna be, depending on the vehicle you have? Is that even a tank of gas?
Depending on the vehicle you have. I mean, in my truck, that would be a $75 ride.
Okay, so $75 ride, and you were doing that, and people were doing that ride based on, well, I was probably paying $1.50 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
right? So now you're paying $1.50 2-3 weeks ago. It's gone up by, let's call it another 50 cents. I anticipate over the next 2 or 3 days, it's going to come back. It's going to drop down probably 15-20 cents. There'll be government intervention. There'll be more oil produced. But the overall where I'm trying to get with this, Nancy, is the people that buy a secondary property, let's call it, that's where most of your buyers are. Would you
Oh, yeah.
say, are they? Right?
Yeah.
An extra $200 or $300 a month on fuel is not going to stop them from buying your properties.
Okay, that's fair.
That's anybody that's in a position to buy a secondary property or an investment property isn't going to look at a couple extra $100 a month.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, so have no fear, get out, get listings, they're gonna sell.
So Scott, just a quick question.
Yeah,
As Julia mentioned earlier that there were 6 offers that came in without even looking at the house.
Mhm.
Did that impact on the oil prices because people didn't want to travel, or?
no, Julia can answer that. I'll tell
I
you
can
why.
answer that. It's because there's so much competition that they just want a semi in 5 different neighborhoods that they've chosen that
Right,
have a parking spot. They're
Right.
willing to do the work on it, and they really just need to get the property.
right. So it had nothing to do with like traveling. Okay.
Yeah, real estate 101, location, location, location. In an easiest way for me to explain it is, in a hot market, if you have the house that is backing onto the highway, has a railway track beside it, and you're under the hydro lines, best time to sell it is in a hot market. Okay, worst time to sell, oh yeah, Julie, go ahead.
Funny, because I've got one of those I'm looking at, and these clients are having trouble finding a place. I said, there is a place. You can get it for a good price. He's listed it twice, but there's a rail line right in the backyard. But the rail line is expropriating land behind these towns. And so in a year, you're going to get another $100,000 from Metrolink. So it's not a bad deal.
Yeah, right? So best time to sell, all those kind of, anything like that, hot market, right? So and where I'm going with this is, in a hot market, there are buyers that are out there going, okay, especially if it's in a really great location, right? And the property, obviously Julie had the offer on, prime. People will look at it and go, I don't care how much money I have to put into it, I'm going to submit an offer because there isn't another one like it. And so in that kind of market, this kind of market, people will look at it, especially if it's, a rental job or a builder. They don't care. They'll drive by the neighborhood. Okay, works, submit the offer. Okay, where you wouldn't get that in a real true buyer's market. Those people would do a thorough investigation of it. They do a complete overhaul look at it. In this kind of marketplace, they don't.
Scott, I have a quick question, if I may. So the market is really crazy right now. what do you do in a situation where your buyers still think they can get a deal? So it's like every offer you put it in, they're trying to lowball it. Every door you pull in comes and you're advising them and they refuse to budge. Like, do you start dropping people?
Well,
in
there are
this
some
market?
times I've kicked people out of the car, not literally, but just said, hey, maybe
Yeah.
you need to find, maybe you need to find somebody else to work with. Because one thing you could is take some of these charts, show it to them and say, look, I guess, Lorena, how long have they been looking for a place?
Oh, well, for one of my clients, we've been searching since summer of last year,
Okay,
and we're still going.
okay,
But prior to that, I was working with him like 2 years. So it's been a long time for this one particular client. The other ones they just new. So we just started about maybe a month.
okay. So for those particular ones, the one that hasn't bought isn't gonna buy. The one that's been around for 2 or 3 years isn't gonna buy until it's deemed a buyer's market. And that's not happening for the next
Yeah.
little while. I would show the long-term buyer how much money it's costing them, and
Yeah.
anticipate that, hey, you want to wait another year or two? No big deal for me, but you're losing, you're losing out on appreciation on a property. For the brand new buyers,
Yeah.
I would say to them, today is the best marketplace they could buy in. Because there is a little bit of hesitancy right now, there's opportunities from people who have already bought that need to sell,
Right.
right? So to me, that's where the opportunity is right now in this marketplace, where there will be some people that will sell less than the last one sold for, where up until this last, call it week, everybody wanted to say, hey, they got 700, I want 750.
Right.
And for a year, that's been happening, and they go, okay, no problem. Today, and based on the graphs, we anticipate the average sale price is going to come down a little bit.
Okay.
Right? So I think that's the next 30, 45 days. I think it's a great opportunity for buyers to buy from somebody who's already bought, who has a closing date coming up, and can probably buy possibly a little bit less if it's a normal type of property they're looking at. If it's in a special location with the special features, there's still going to be huge demand for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that help answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, opinions? Well, I just wanted to share all that with you to make sure everybody was understanding this is normal. Use the graphs, right? The easiest story to tell is with pictures. So go onto your systems, use the graphs, understand the graphs, understand that, yeah, with this outside influence, this is normal when we get some of this, a little bit of a lull, but even as of yesterday, okay, yesterday, still 80% of the properties are selling above, asking or above. Okay. Just need to explain that you are going to get some people that'll say, hey, I'm going to wait, I want to be out of the marketplace. That's where I would send them these graphs and say, hey, I've got some really valuable information, can really help you understand what's going on. Love to explain it to you. I would send them the graphs and say, if you want to have a look at it yourself, great. But if you really want to understand what's going on, reach out to me. And then I'd follow up with them going 4 or 5 days later. Hey, did you get a chance to look at those graphs? Right? Really need now to be the person of information and guidance, not just an order taker. Okay.
I was
Yeah.
trying to, and Trub doesn't let me do this. I was trying to take areas and do a sold search based on sale price versus asking or versus list price after it's sold. And there doesn't seem to be a way to search that unless I've lost something. Do you have to go into Does Matrix do that?
So explain, what do you?
Yeah, so let's go C01 townhouses.
Okay,
I want to search everything that's sold since in the last 3 months
okay.
under 1.2, let's say.
Sold under 1.2?
Yeah, not offered, sold. There doesn't seem to be a way to filter that way. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because, and as I think Lorena was saying, she had she's got somebody that is constantly underbidding. And sometimes it's nice to say, well, in this area, if you're bidding at, 1.2, this area, nothing has sold for 1.2 in the last 2 years. Because that's kind of helps people see.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always search by last update, but sometimes that misses some, which I find a little frustrating. So,
Let me work on that, because there is a way, because I've done it where I've put in a maximum sold price and asked for stuff below it, and I've got the report.
in Treb,
Yeah, let me play with it.
yeah. I was gonna call Treb today because I find it a little frustrating when you're trying to look at stuff that way. Anyway,
Okay, I'll play with it and see what I can find for you.
yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any other things, topics, discussions? Reminder, we are going to be doing the awards in person, probably going to be the second half of April. I don't have a date yet, but it will be at the one we normally do here at Mississauga Highway 10 area. Awards are being engraved now, and it will be like a luncheon function and in person. Okay. I will send out the date once I confirm it, but second half of April somewhere. Yeah.
I've had some success recently with this one technique in multiple offers, in case anybody's interested. So I'm having my buyers sign a 127 where they've declared that they understand what happens when you if you haven't checked insurance, or if you're waiving a home inspection, blah 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 blah. And I also put on the 127 that I have permission to share the details of the form with a listing agent that we're offering with. And I've had some feedback on that, even though we didn't win. They said, the listing agent said, that's really good information to have, because we all sit around this table wondering if people are going to close or take responsibility for closing. And I also detail it in that my client has contacted the insurance company relating to this property. My client has spoken to their lender relating to this property.
Okay, good point.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Anybody want to give an update on what's happening in your neck of the woods, or?
Hi, Scott. I have a question.
Yeah.
This is regarding a rental property, which is currently vacant and up for sale. But looking at the current change in the market, should it be put it on rent again and then try to put on the market after a few months, or let it be kept vacant and wait for the right time?
If you're dealing with tenants, you put a tenant
Right
in
now there is no tenant.
right. But as soon as you put a tenant in there, you will have to deal with that tenant on a sale, and you will not get that tenant out properly or in a short period of time.
Okay.
So my recommendation would be, two things would be: look at how you're marketing it based on what our discussion is. You may want to look at canceling the listing, really reduce it to the ridiculous, hold off offers, and see if you can generate multiple offers to push the price up. Because that may be something to look at, right? Just see how you're working that. but I wouldn't look at putting a tenant in because we currently have a couple situations where tenants are in, they're paying. Not the best tenants keeping the place up, but they're paying, and investors are looking at buying and going, you know what? May not be exactly, you know, what the scenario we want. So I would suggest that, and we had another situation a couple of years ago where even the listing agent and the owner got an N12 eviction, or got an N12 farm sign. People did not move out. It took over 8 months to get them out. Okay.
Okay.
No.
So it's better to keep it vacant
Okay.
and
Yeah.
wait for the right time.
Keep it
Thank you for
vacant.
listening.
Send me the listing, or just send me the MLS number.
No, it has not been listed yet, but yeah, I will connect with you when I'm in
Okay.
next week.
Well, if you
Sure.
need an agent, you let me know.
Of course. Thank you. Thanks for answering that. I know you have the best agents in the world.
All right. Any other things before we sign off, and any other questions, thoughts? Hey, I appreciate everybody being on here. But hopefully this information is giving you a little bit more ammunition. As I said in the beginning, there's some information here that you can go out and present and make some money from it. So, all right. Everybody stay well. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks,
I'm always
Scott.
around if you need to reach out to me.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Scott.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye.
Thank you, Scott. Bye-bye.